This was not the first time. This woman, who in America goes by the name Nancy Carter, was pulled over by the police patrolling this area. You see, Nancy was engaged to a local civil rights attorney who had recently made national headlines by bringing down an entire precinct that was filled with KKK members. As you would expect, most police were happy to have that infestation purged from its ranks. However, there were others who only saw it as police officers going to jail because of a political agitator and a race baiter, which meant it was time for payback, and these cops, to their eternal detriment, chose Miss Carter. First, they forcefully removed her from her car. She saw the sun was going down, so she began to get more and more agitated as they searched her car, which was clean. She heard the two discussing how they will plant the drugs they had in their possession under the passenger seat, then turn their body cams back on to capture the search.
They're going to plant drugs under my passenger seat. How can you let him do this?
Both deputies were caught off guard as they began to wonder how she could possibly have heard them from the distance which they had her sitting. Plus, they were whispering the plot to make sure the audio wouldn't be picked up by the body cams. Strucker sent Ruiz over to deal with Nancy while he uncovered the drugs from under the passenger side seat of her car. After Ruiz is KO'd, Carter feels the change happening. The full moon is already out. The red full moon was out. Now it's too late to avoid discovery, and too late to avoid excess bloodshed. Ruiz starts to regain consciousness just in time to hear his sergeant screaming in agony and distress you can never truly describe with words. When he turns his head in the direction of the scream to see what's happening, Ruiz is paralyzed with fear. What he sees looks like an animal the size of a bear, but seemed to be more like a real-life werewolf standing on hind legs as it literally rips Sergeant Strucker limb from limb. The screaming seems to stop almost as soon as started. Ruiz watches as the beast looks down at the mess that was formerly its human prey. The beast seemed to almost regret what it had done. Then it turned toward Ruiz, who through his fear could not summon the will to move, and instead began praying. Marcus was definitely fearing the worst, yet oddly felt as though he was not in immediate danger. The sound immediately drew the attention of the Werkat, which was now enraged again, as it leaped toward the oncoming patrol car, stopped it with her bare hands, punched into the hood of the car, and ripped out the engine. The deputies inside each exited the car and began to immediately open fire. It took less than 2 minutes for each man to be torn to shreds. More police cars came, and the process seemed to repeat itself 2 more times. One deputy was left besides Ruiz, Deputy Pamela Johnson. a rookie on the force who seemed oddly calm. She did not draw her gun, and instead seemed to pull out what looked like a tranquilizer gun. She fired it into the beast's back. Once it took notice of her and began to advance, Deputy Johnson made an odd hand gesture which seemed to stop the beast in its tracks. The animal then retreated down the street with other patrol cars in pursuit. However, they were unable to match the creature's speed and eventually lost it.